Battle of the Bismarck Sea. Game theory is more concerned with the strategies and choices than optimal solutions, but is principally about the study of decision making. The elements of a game are one or more players, whether people, a group or an organisation, one or more moves or choices where a move is an action carried out in the game, a set of outcomes where an outcome is the consequence of the completion of one or more moves, a payoff, a quantity received for a given outcome, and lastly, rules which stipulate the conditions for the moves, players, outcomes and payoffs. Strategy is a course of action a player uses to determine their set of moves for any situations in the game. The outcome of the strategy is dependable upon the actions of others. The payoff matrix is a visual representation of the many possible outcomes of a strategic decision. This consists of outcome strategies and information on opponents.
The Battle of Bismarck Sea was a battle that took place on the 2nd of March 1943 within the Southwest Pacific area during World War II. This was a battle that occurred between the Japanese and Americans. The first step involved in analysing this battle's game theory involves identifying the mission that both sides needed to accomplish. This requires both sides to understand what their possible choice and alternatives are. The second step required is for both sides to evaluate the situation and plan a course of action. Firstly, the situation must be evaluated. The Americans could only scout either north or south of the island and could not do both as they did not have enough reconnaissance aircraft to use before the Japanese convoys reached their destination. The Japanese also had two choices that they could undertake, which included sending convoys either north or sending them south. The third step involves each player's analysis of their opponent's choices. Both commanders each had two decisions, which leads to four possible outcomes.
The first scenario shows the bulk of the US planes north of New Britain and the Japanese Navy taking the northern route. Due to weather conditions, the visibility is poor, so the convoy wouldn't be discovered until the second day, which allows for 2 days of bombing. The second scenario shows the bulk of US planes north of New Britain, however the Japanese taking the southern route. Due to limited reconnaissance south of the island, the Japanese convoy would be missed for the first day, also allowing for 2 days of bombing. The third scenario shows the US planes south of the island, but the Japanese taking the northern route. Because of poor visibility north of New Britain and limited reconnaissance, the convoy will be missed for 2 days, which allows only 1 day of bombing. The last scenario shows the US planes south of the island and the Japanese taking the southern route to the island. Considering the majority of planes in the south and the good visibility, General Kenny could have hoped for 3 days of bombing. General Kenny decided it was best to focus his reconnaissance planes north of New Britain.
Nash equilibrium. Within game theory, we have this concept of a Nash equilibrium. This is defined as the solution to a game in which the players choose their strategy based on their opponent's possible strategies and outcomes. By changing their strategy, there'd be nothing to gain. So in Nash equilibrium, each player's strategy is optimal in consideration of other players' motives and outcomes. Dominant strategies. There are two kinds of dominant strategies. A strictly dominant strategy is one that provides greater utility to the player despite any of the other players' strategies. A weakly dominant strategy earns a slightly better payoff for one of the players. The decision. General Kenny has two options: concentrate most of his recon along the north or concentrate most of his recon on the south. The Battle of Bismarck would be considered a simultaneous game as both players have to make a decision at the same time. In this circumstance, General Kenny has no dominant strategy. The Japanese have a weakly dominant strategy to go north as payoffs are equal for one strategy but strictly better for the other. Therefore, as the Japanese have a slightly dominating strategy to go north, we eliminate the strategy to go south for the Japanese who decide to go north, and thus Kenny's strategy to go north is dominant over goes south. So north-north becomes the weak dominance equilibrium.